Don't you see, Clark? It's not just about me. It's the Luthers. They're like a cancer, destroying everything they touch.
The Luthers didn't kill anyone. The Luthers didn't frame my dad.
Damn. This aged well now, didn't it? I wonder if they're going to issue this guy an apology. But I'm getting ahead of myself, of course. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Burst Retrospect. Today we'll be continuing the complete series of Smallville with Smallville Season 3.
If there's one man who can help, it's the man coming in here right now.
After spending 2 seasons on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m., Smallville was moved to Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. However, the series rating had dipped, averaging 4.9 million views a week. However, for me in particular, I didn't care about the ratings. In 2004, the home DVD release won the Saturn Award for Best DVD Television Release. Season 3 had several ties to Smallville: The Chloe Chronicles Volume 2. The volume used the Smallville cover as a secondary tie-in the series, which provided a more in-depth backstory to online segments. The producers of the show also teamed up with Verizon Wireless to have users view plot updates in the form of a press release from the Daily Planet, as well as games and quizzes. I never knew of the Verizon segment. I always knew of the Chloe Chronicles and the Smallville comic, but this was new to me as I was researching when writing this episode. But between 2003 and 2006, I never had a cell phone. But for the ones who come across this video and remembers the Verizon Wireless partnership, let me know what you guys thought about it. Were there any glitches or were there any misprints or misinformation that you got from the tie-in, or was it on point as far as the show continuity? Just let me know in the comments. But I spent too much time on this backstory of Season 3. There's a lot more, but I will mention it later on towards the end of the episode. So without further ado, let's jump into Smallville Season 3. If you haven't seen episodes 1 and 2 of Burst Retrospect for Smallville Seasons 1 and 2, I will annotate that in this video, and I'll also put the links in the description below. Unlike Season 2, Season 3 had a time skip. Well, it begins with a time skip because after the season premiere of Season 2, we had a 3-month time skip. So it's pretty cool to have a 3-month time skip at the beginning of the season. We catch up with Clark as he's still under the influence of the red kryptonite ring, as he acts completely out of character and robs ATMs, buys a fast car, and takes a girl to the club that is not Lana, of course, but he happens to screw that up once the girl touched the scar that Jarrell gave him last season. As Clark was leaving the club, the scar on his chest started to cause him pain. He takes off the ring and the pain stops, and Clark goes back to his normal self, briefly. He calls home and Martha answers, but Clark says nothing while Martha begs him to come home. He quickly hangs up the phone and slips back on the ring. We also learn that Lex has been presumed dead for 3 months. As we catch up with the kids, they are on the verge of losing the farm. Jonathan wants to go look for Clark, but Martha states that Clark doesn't want to be found. Lana has not given up on Clark and is doing all she can to find him. However, Chloe seems to have given up the search. On an uncharted island, we find that Lex is alive, but a little worse for wear as he tries to find a way off the island. Another castaway by the name of Lewis stops every attempt, stating that Lex belongs on the island. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, Clark thwarts a bank robbery, but not to save the day, but to rob the bank himself. Clark is then tracked down by the head of the bank robbers, Morgan Edge, as he wants to recruit Clark in his gang. At Lex's funeral, it is revealed that Helen survived the plane crash, stating that Lex got her out before the plane crashed. However, Lana doesn't believe it and abruptly leaves. While Lana was at the funeral, she briefly sees Clark, but he quickly disappears. Back at Clark's apartment, it is revealed that Chloe knew what he was the whole time. Chloe, having a change of heart, begs Clark to tell people where he is and go home. But then Clark warns her not to, or he'll go so far away to where no one will ever find him, as he tells her to get out. Chloe goes back to Smallville and had no choice but to reveal she knew where Clark was the entire time. Naturally, Lana gets upset with Chloe and tells her that she has done enough. Lana finds Clark outside the apartment and goes out with him to the club. Lana secretly calls to Kent's and tells him where Clark is, but he interrupts hanging up. Lana begs for him to come home, but he ends up leaving her at the club. Back on the island, Lewis tries to kill Lex, but Lex gains the upper hand and ends up killing Lewis. Lex was rescued by people who saw the fire. He tried to confess that he had no other choice but to kill Lewis, but it was revealed that it was all in his head and that the island plays tricks on him. Jonathan fears that if he doesn't go get Clark now, he will lose him forever. Clark moves to Edge and gets a job to steal an important item from Luthor Corp. Jonathan goes to the caves and makes a deal with Jor-El to bring Clark home. Clark breaks into Luthor Corp with little effort and takes the item. Jonathan shows up and tries to reason with Clark, but Clark shoves Jonathan into a wall. But to Clark's surprise, Jonathan is unharmed and displayed abilities like Clark and tackles him out the window. You know, as this stuff is going on, you would think that the security cameras will catch all of this. But let's chalk it up to common sense that Clark may have dismantled all of the goddamn, security cameras so that way he wouldn't have been watched while he was getting the item from Luthor Corp for Morgan Edge. Because judging on how he stood there for a while after he grabbed the item before Jonathan showed up, makes me believe that he did something to the cameras before he actually ripped the vault open. Without any explanation, I will chalk it up to it being a damn plot hole. But let's move on. Clark and Jonathan fight, but Clark overpowers Jonathan. Jonathan tells Clark to finish him off, saying that if he could raise a son that can kill, then do it. It looks as though Clark was going to kill Jonathan, but ends up destroying the ring, and the mark on his chest disappears. Clark is back to normal and goes back home for now and apologizes to Martha on running away and losing the baby. But Martha said that it wasn't his fault and glad that he's home. Lex confronts Lionel, believing that Lionel set him up, but Lionel informs that Helen is alive and is now the most powerful woman in the world. Okay, I know Lex wasn't in his right mind when he came back, but Jesus Christ, you didn't think to look up the fate of your wife? You decided to pull a gun on your own father twice now. Oh yes, this is the first time that Lex pulled a gun on Lionel. Yeah, and in the Smallville comic number 4, Chimera Part 2, Lex was framed for murder. And who was the first person he blamed? You guessed it, Lionel. And he was blind at the time, I think. Anyway, it's just funny that Lex will always think that Lionel will try to kill him. But more on that later. Lionel knew that Edge had something to do with the break-in and gives him 24 hours to get back the item. Clark shows Jonathan what he stole from Luthor Corp and it was a vial of Clark's blood, and Jonathan quickly destroys it. Now they wonder what Lionel really knows about Clark. Clark visits Lana and apologizes. However, he's not sure that he's going to stay in Smallville. Lex finds Helen at the mansion and she told him what happened on the plane, saying that there was only one parachute and Lex gave Helen a chance to get away. Lex was skeptical, but he believes her. Or does he? Lex visited Clark for the first time in 3 months, and it was all worth it for him just to see the look on Clark's face as they both embraced in a hug. Later, Clark is found by Morgan Edge asking where the item that Clark stole from Luthor Corp. Clark says that he doesn't have it, and Edge threatens to call the police. Clark naturally responds.
I don't think you heard me. Ah, the package is gone.
Luther doesn't know who took it, so forget about it. So take your sorry ass down the road, back to Metropolis. I don't want to see you in Smallville again. Ever.
Lex and Helen attempt to go on their honeymoon again, but it was all a ploy because Lex got his mind right and done some investigation and found out that Helen was the one that tried to kill him. Which begs me the question, where was all this motivation during last season? I know she was heartbroken that Lex lied about stealing the blood sample, but it shouldn't have been enough to plan to sell the blood to Lionel anyway and try to kill Lex. But I guess it could be also about money. It just came out of nowhere. Anyway, while Lex was drugged, Helen managed to get off the plane so she could pay off the pilot and have him fly far enough so that the pilot can exit the plane, hoping that Lex will perish in the plane crash. Helen attempted to kill Lex again, but before confessing that she really did love him. The two tussled, but Helen managed to escape. Meanwhile, Edge visits Clark again, and this time he held Jonathan and Martha hostage. Edge demands that Clark give him what he stole from Lionel. Clark uses kryptonite to produce a blood sample. Edge takes the blood to Lionel and says that he got it directly from the source. One of Edge's goons ties Clark up to present to Lionel. Lionel shows up and she saves the Kents. Clark frees himself by causing an explosion, furthering the wedge between Lionel and Edge. As the Kents pack up the farm, Lex comes back with good news that he bought the farm, but he put the deed in the Kents' names. Clark decided to stick around and thank Lana for saving his parents. Lana tried to rekindle the relationship, but Clark pushes her away, saying that he tried, but he could never be the guy that she wants. But Lana reassures Clark that he never had to try. These two episodes, Exile and Phoenix, were pretty good opening episodes of the third season. It serves as a basis of who the season will focus on the most, and that's Lex and Clark. In the Smallville comics from the second to third season, it was revealed that what Lex and Clark were up to the past 3 months. First, when Clark got to Metropolis, he met a girl and he was about to have sex with her, but she said something that made him get rid of her, with Lex beginning an expanding look while stranded on the island. The next two episodes are mostly filler. In the episode Extinction, after his father was murdered by Tina Greer, high school vigilante Van McNulty goes on a killing spree of potential media freaks by using a list he stole from Chloe's personal files. We get introduced to the kryptonite bullets that nearly killed Clark, but Jonathan manages to save him. Clark managed to stop Van with a lead bulletproof vest and with the help of Lana. We do get some development of the arrangement between Chloe and Lionel. Chloe wants to end the arrangement, but Lionel blackmails her to stay with the agreement. We also get development of Lex and how he was affected by the media shower. For what Chloe says that Lex's white blood cell count is abnormal. Basically, Lex could never get sick and recover from almost anything. Slumber follows Clark caught in recurring dreams from his new neighbor Sarah Conroy, and she is in an artificial coma caused by her uncle to have control of her fortune that she inherited from her dead parents. Clark and Lana manage to figure things out and save Sarah. We get some development from Lex struggling with going to psychiatric therapy. We continue with the episode Perry as an early washed-up tabloid journalist version of Perry White comes to Smallville and has nice things to say about the small town.
Kansas. And all the little Kansasians in it.
Meanwhile, Clark is intrigued by the article of a comet hitting the sun, causing a solar flare. While Clark was out, his super speed gave out temporarily and was almost hit by Perry White and causes an accident. Perry almost died until Clark saved him. Perry saw Clark use his abilities, but Clark notices that Perry is drunk and hopes that it will be used against him. Damn. Even the main character sometimes uses convenience to keep his secret. A day later at the farm, we see Clark's powers go into overdrive. Perry finds Clark and wants him to be his tour guide, but unknowingly used him to find Lana.
An interview.
What are you doing?
Damn, just keep digging yourself a bigger hole, huh, Clark? Anyway, at the mansion, Lex goes through his psychiatric sessions in hopes of going back to work. But the doctor doesn't want to clear him and wants to do more sessions on an indefinite basis. Lex takes it like any man would.
Please. Get out. Get out!
Perry continues to rub Clark's friends the wrong way until Chloe recognizes him. Lana goes to Lex and asks for him to get Perry to stop harassing her. Clark finds Perry at a bar and told him that he knows who Perry is due to researching with Chloe. Lex shows up and says to Clark that he will take it from here and drops Perry off at the next bus out of Smallville. Later, Clark attempts to lift the tractor to help Jonathan, but Clark super straight went into overdrive and set the tractor all the way to the county line. As Clark tried to retrieve it, he is then caught yet again by Perry. Luckily, the police feel that Perry was drunk to believe the contrived story from Jonathan and Clark. Clark, Jonathan, and Pete figure out Clark's powers glitches came from the solar flare, which they deduced that Clark's powers came directly from the sun. To be honest, I did not know this at the time until I saw the episode for the first time. Anyway, the effects of the solar flare should be wearing off soon, so Clark will have to try not to use his abilities until then. Perry goes to see Chloe again, and he spills the beans on why his career took a dive. See, Perry wrote an expose on Lionel Luthor, and it costed him his job, which in turn also blacklisted him for all eternity. Chloe took this as a warning that you don't want to cross Lionel Luthor and expect to get away with it. Perry meets with Clark back at the farm and vowed to get the story on Clark. Well, Clark is making it easy for Perry as Clark's abilities go into overdrive and super speeds across the country. As Clark barely had enough money to get back home, Jonathan tells Clark that they have not seen the last of Perry. Perry makes a bold move and goes see Lex again. Perry wants to make a deal. In exchange for information on Clark, everything Perry had on Lionel will go to Lex at the event of Perry's untimely demise. Wow, he was going to pull a Cooper Sacks before there was a Cooper Sacks, huh? Lex gives a counteroffer.
You may have been able to neutralize my father, but not me.
Looks like the jungle living really took a toll.
I'm warning you. Stay away from me and stay away from my friends. Trust me, there won't be any blood on my hands when they find what's left of you.
Perry has a camera crew outside the farm.
I can't believe this. I feel like a prisoner in my own house.
Says every teen that's forced to stay in the house over the weekend. Clark's powers go into overdrive again, and this time his heat vision causes a small fire. Clark tries to put it out, but is burned in the process. Clark creates a diversion to get away from Perry and the cameras. Feeling like he failed, he goes to the Talon to get a ride from Lana to the bus station. However, it was all a ruse to lure Clark out. Clark tried to super speed, but it was gone. Pete takes Clark to where Perry was. Perry was convinced that Clark had powers and was willing to harm himself to prove it. However, thanks to the solar flare, it had appeared that Clark didn't have any powers at all. So Clark's secret is safe once again. Lex decides to go through his extended sessions, and this time he will reveal his past traumas. The episode ends with Clark making sure that Perry gets on the bus out of Smallville. Perry had came to the senses and decided to do real journalism again. One day, if Clark needed something, Perry asked him to look him up in Metropolis. Moving on with the next episode, Relic. Lana visits her great uncle Dex McCallan that's on death row for killing his wife Louise, and Lana has a strong resemblance to her. Dex says he's innocent and says that there was another there that night, a drifter. Dex shows a picture of the drifter in question and has a strong resemblance to Clark. Lana goes to see Clark and tells him that the drifter could be either his father or grandfather. Clark deemed it impossible.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that?
I'm sorry, man. No, I wouldn't.
You shouldn't talk. It makes you sound stupid.
Clark goes to the caves and finds the medallion with the Kryptonian symbols of the drifter once had. Later that day, Clark gets flashes of memories of the drifter. The drifter goes by the name of Joe, and he saves Louise. So it's no secret that Joe is actually a younger Jor-El. Clark gets the help of Chloe and grabs an old police report of the day that it reads that the mugger tried to rob Louise was Lachlan Luthor, Lex's grandfather and Lionel's father. Chloe goes to talk to Lex, but Lex couldn't help her.
I wish I could help you, Chloe, but I'm afraid you've met a dead end.
That night, Lana and Clark go through Louise and Dex's things. Clark hopes that it will trick her into memory. Lana finds Louise's necklace and asks Clark to put it on for her. Once he touches it, he relives another memory. He figures out that Louise and Joe were in love. Clark and Lana head out to find more clues, and Clark discovers the car that Joe had and then proceeded to jog into memory. As Joe tells Louise he was leaving, she wanted to go with him, but Joe knows that that's not possible. The conversation is interrupted by Lachlan Luthor and tries to kill Joe, but ends up killing Louise. Now let me go on a rant for a bit while I show this next scene.
Crazy.
You passed crazy about 4 random clues ago.
Ever since I read that newspaper article, I've been having memories from 1961.
So you mean to tell me all this time you had a way to tell your secret without telling your secret? So all those times you were on Red Kryptonite last season and chose not to say anything other than I wasn't myself proves to me that it was stupid for you to dig yourself a hole with the people you haven't told your secret. If you want to look at that part of the video, click the card above and I'll put the time code in this video. Anyway, Chloe figures out a crucial detail that was left out of the police report that Lachlan Luthor was released from jail by Deputy Billy Tate, now goes by William Tate. Clark and Lana go visit Tate to figure things out. However, Clark triggers in a memory and finds out that Tate was also in love with Louise. Les confronts Lionel about their family history. Lana replies with this.
All entrepreneurs can have the luxury of being both successful and honest.
When I was young and trying hard to get a foothold in the world of overachieving Ivy Leaguers, I quickly found that confessing to the fact that I was born and bred in a place like Suicide Slum wasn't going to win anybody over at a cocktail party.
So you took the liberty of rewriting our family history?
That's right. Why should I have to pay for the sins of my father?
Memorial and our family plot even real, or do I have grandparents wandering around Suicide Slum?
They both died in a tenement fight. I was moonlighting.
Damn, that's sad. I guess it was kind of warranted now he wanted to grow in the corporate world. Well, I'm pretty sure that nothing will come of this, like at all. Psych! Lex decided to look into his grandparents' death by fire, but the detective told Lex that it was an explosion that spanned many blocks of suicide slums. Lex tells Lionel what happened. Lionel never pursued for vengeance because he never had the resources back then and decided to let it go. Lex vows that they will find out who did this and bring them to justice. Lex, that's nice. I'm pretty sure nothing bad will happen in pursuit of this. I'm sure someone won't use your mental state to either kill you or institutionalize you, but I'm sure that will never happen. Clark gets another vision by touching his grandfather's gun. Joe was founded by Hiram Kent. To trigger another memory, Clark finds Joe's jacket. Clark sees that Hiram helped Joe escape because he knows Joe didn't kill Louise. Clark uses Joe's jacket and the medallion to get Mary Tate to confess his hand in the murder of Louise, and it works somehow. Dex is released from jail. feeling bad for himself that he knew that Louise was not in love with him and he should have let her go a long time ago. I really feel bad for the man because all his life was wasted for something he didn't do. Clark and Jonathan go to the cave. Clark figures out that the medallion was a journal and it triggered one last memory. Joe and Hiram say goodbye.
Hiram, I can usually tell an honest man when I see one. Sorry you ran into trouble here. There's plenty of good folks in Smallville. I'll remember that. If there's anything you ever need, you know where to find me.
Clark revealed that the kids finding him was not an accident.
I think you and Mom found me by accident. I think you were chosen.
The next filler episode, Magnetic, is about when an accident gives Seth Nelson the power of magnetism. Not only he can control metal, but he can also control the impulses in the brain that can control his emotion like anger, hunger, or in Lana's case, attraction. It was pretty funny and absurd episode. The kid Seth seemed like a good kid, but how he acted once he became meteor infected further supports that once meteor infected, it also infects their mind. Or maybe Seth succumbed to his own abilities that causes these changes in behavior. But hey, this is speculation on my part. We get small story elements of what's to come. Lex finds out Chloe has probably stumbled upon information that Lana and Morgan Edge killed Lex's grandparents. We continue with the episode Shattered. Lex meets with Morgan Edge, who went under plastic surgery. And the way Lex figured out it was still Morgan Edge despite the surgery was kind of dumb to me.
You could change your face, your hair, your voice. Not your DNA. You still sweat the same.
Lex has evidence to put Lana away for murdering his grandparents, and Edge agrees to help. Back at the mansion, Lex is attacked and his security guard supposedly killed. Lex managed to escape with his life. Lex hides out at the Kent farm where Clark finds him.
Somebody tried to kill me last night. We need to get you to a hospital.
Clark wants to help, but Lex wants him to stay out of it. Then why the fuck did you go to the farm in the first fucking place? Clark went to the mansion to get the evidence, but it was gone. Clark finds proof that Lex was attacked by finding a broken piece of glass from the window that he jumped out of. Clark gets Chloe's help from the fact that she might be in danger. Lana confronts Clark about where Lex could be.
Have you seen Lex, Clark? It's important that I find him.
Clark stands firm and said he hasn't seen Lex. Lex looks through the peephole to witness what's going on. Hey, if you pause this at the right moment, you can see Chloe laughing while turning her face. Anyway, Clark comes back to the barn to check on Lex.
Lex, what are you doing down here?
The baby, he was crying. My father woke him.
The baby. What baby?
My little brother Julian.
You know, I want to say this ahead of time, but Michael Rosenbaum outdid himself with his performance in this episode. He deserves his flowers. Clark clubs Clee to his parents about Lex and Edge being alive. Clark also shares that Edge had plastic surgery, and if he shows up, they never know it was him. Jonathan doesn't believe it to be true. Man, you have a son that's from another planet whose only weakness is a rock. And this is where you draw the line? Clark's parents want to hand Lex over, but Lex overhears.
You know people, and you realize it's all just a facade.
Lex, you know we only want what's best for you.
Save the cloying maternal posturing for your own son, Mrs. Kent.
Clark sides with Lex and goes to Metropolis where Lex met Edge. However, when they got there...
I got my own sweatshop, nigga. Goddamn. I got these bitches working 16 hours straight.
So the place is completely cleaned out and replaced with a sweatshop to make it look like Lex is crazy. But we, the audience, know that he's not. Lex and Clark go back to the mansion to search for clues, but are confronted by Lex's psychiatrist and his supposedly dead security guard. The psychiatrist tried to give Lex a sedative, but Lex feels that he's going to be drugged, so he grabs a gun, forcing him to face the ground as he leaves out with Clark. Clark gets Lana's help to keep an eye on Lex while he finds out what's going on. Clark meets with Chloe and asks her to check out Lex's medication. However, Chloe passes on some pertinent information.
Apparently this isn't the first time he's had this kind of problem.
What are you talking about?
Well, After his brother died, Lex went right back to boarding school. And soon after that, he started exhibiting some pretty bizarro behavior. His housemaster found him sitting in the bell tower in the middle of the night, singing a lullaby to a wrapped-up blanket.
Now, this was a hard scene to watch, even now. When Lana attempted to give Lex something to help him relax, he felt like Lana was trying to drug him, and he shoved Lana, spooking the horse, stomping Lana unconscious while also breaking her leg. Lex escapes by assaulting an innocent bystander and stealing their truck. Lana gets cryptic with Clark calling him a lackey.
Never quite sure which of them was more out of touch with reality. Don Quixote jousting with imaginary enemies, or his loyal lackey, Sancho Panza, indulging his...
Lana blames Clark for Lana's predicament and leaves, but before doing so, Clark warns Lionel that Lex will be coming for him. Chloe and Clark deduce that Lex could have been drugged for months at the mansion. Clark confronts Darius, Lex's security guard.
Don't underestimate farm boys. Baling all that hay can make you pretty strong.
Come on, man! You're gonna break my arm!
Not if you tell me how you drugged Lex.
This is scotch!
Clark makes Darius call whoever it is he's working for and meet him at the Smallville stables before he goes to the cops. Lex finds Lionel and he threatens to kill him, but Lionel, being clever, said it was all Morgan Edge's idea and gives Lex an address just before he is knocked out. At the stables, it looks as though Clark's still showing that he still has some of that red kryptonite in him. Just watch.
Tell me where to find the guy you're working for. I keep squeezing.
Me and my brother were in awe and we were like,
Damn!
Lex finds Morgan Edge and he tries to flip the script on Lionel.
Could have escaped if I wanted to kill you. It was your father's idea to make you look crazy instead. It's true, Lex. Lionel's gotten soft in his old age. Neck still bothering you? Muscle aches, sleeplessness. All common side effects of the drugs.
I knew I wasn't crazy.
Quick question. As drugged as he was, how was he still able to move around between Metropolis and Smallville? Anyway, Clark shows up, grabs a gun from Lex, and he started to get weak.
Hi, Cal. I had a feeling we'd see each other again. That's why I've been carrying these around.
Edge has a kryptonite bracelet and beats Clark down. Lex intervenes and shoots Edge. Lex wants to kill Clark, thinking that he was involved with Edge. However, he goes after Edge and kills him before his vehicle crashes into Lex.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Wow.
Right about you all along, Clark. You're not even human.
Clark super speeds away in time when Lex's psychiatrist shows up and takes him. Later on, Clark visits Lana and she realizes that he was right, that she had to stay away from him. Lex has been committed to Belle Reeve, with Lana feeling unsatisfied at the state Lex is in. Well, we all know that's a lie. This episode was damn good. Michael Rosenbaum played the paranoid Lex as he was paranoid in real life. This episode also served as the mid-season finale, which means that mostly around the time of the holidays, there were no new episodes aired until the next year. In Smallville comic number 8, we dive deep into Lex's 7 weeks at Belle Reeve. He attempted to escape, but to no avail. He imagined Clark coming to save him many times, but Clark never showed. Lex finally realized that he was going to use Clark for his abilities, but now he would do anything to protect him. And he felt that he was going to be there for a while until he gets the news that Clark is coming to visit, leading into the next episode, Asylum. We see Lex pretending to take his medication as he waits for Clark. As Clark is escorted to Lex, he's run into several media freaks that he's encountered.
What is? How you freak? Get up! Hey, Kent. It's me, Eric. Struck by lightning lately?
Good to see you, Clark. Tell my 2 favorite ex-girlfriends I said hello.
Keep moving.
So we have Ian, the maniac that was two-timing Lana and Chloe, Van, the media freak hater who also almost killed Clark, and Eric Summers, the guy who took Clark's powers by accident via lightning strike while holding kryptonite. Lex and Clark reunite and they catch up of sorts.
I know your secret. Don't worry. I haven't said a word to anyone. I need you to get me out of here. I've seen what you can do.
Lex, I want to.
Then do it, Clark. My father's never gonna let me out. you're my friend. Please, Clark. Don't let me rot in this cesspool.
I'm sorry.
Lex gets disappointed and attacks Clark for having their reunion cut short. Later that night, Lex attempted to escape again but was caught and restrained. Clark feels bad that he couldn't help Lex. Jonathan, however, is eating this all up inside, of course.
You can't just break somebody out of a state institution. Then you would go to jail and Lex would be out there a fugitive with your secret on the tip of his tongue.
Pete knows my secret and that's turned out okay.
Lex is different.
Jonathan is right. Lex can be out there with Clark's secret. So for right now, Jonathan's best advice for Clark is to stay out of it before it gets any worse. Martha tells Clark that he can go and visit Lana, however Clark wants to stay away, per Lana's wishes.
You gotta take care of your own heart, too. Go see her.
Just look at his face. He just wanted someone else to say that it was okay. Lana has been in the hospital for a month, commencing physical therapy, but she was having trouble. She meets another in therapy, Adam, whom he encouraged her. Well, I use encourage loosely because he was being an asshole about it. Lionel goes to see Lex because of his escape attempt. Lex tries to lie his way out, but Lionel stands firm, stating that due to the escape attempt, he can no longer has the power to release Lex to have home care, which we all knew that was a damn lie. Lex takes as you expect. Ian and Eric go to visit Van to form a great value Legion of Doom to get revenge on Clark and escape. Van reluctantly agrees. Lana wants to hurry and proceed with electroshock therapy to wipe Lex's memory. However, Lex's psychiatrist advises against it. Lionel doesn't give a damn and wants it done. Not now, but right now. Clark does his research on Lex's medical records and feels that Lex is being drugged. Chloe came by on the way to bring Lana home and Clark asks how was she. So I guess that smile was for nothing because he was stubborn and did not go to see her after all. Chloe gets the same kind of response that Martha made to go see her. Clark stands firm on his decision to stay away. Clark finds out about Lex's electroshock therapy and he only has 24 hours to stop it. Van gets one of the guards to get a piece of kryptonite so they'll be ready for Clark when he returns. But how do they know that he was going to return? I don't know, that kind of vexed me in a way. But let's move on. Ian thanks Van by spotting him doing his workout.
Well, you should know better than to trust a meteor freak.
Damn, that was cold. Clark and Chloe confronted the psychiatrist and asked her to stop the order of the electroshock therapy. Ian goes to see Lex and tries to recruit him into the Great Value Legion of Doom, but Lex wants nothing to do with them. Ian tells Lex about the electroshock therapy and wants Lex to find him once he changes his mind. Lana does extra physical therapy thanks to Adam's words. Adam reveals that his accident was due to him running in a burning building and saving someone.
Shit sounds made the fuck up, my brother.
Clark finds out that the psychiatrist was found dead on the way to cancel the electroshock therapy. Clark attempts to rescue Lex but is weakened by kryptonite and taken. Lex is then knocked out and prepped for his therapy. The Great Value Legion of Doom takes Clark for Eric to take Clark's powers. It works, however, Ian wants to leave right away, but Eric wants to get revenge on Clark.
Come on, boy, you're gonna pay for the 2 wasted years I spent in here. Eric, go on, they're gonna be here any minute. What do I care? It's not my problem. No, wait a second. We're a team. I thought we were friends. There's no such thing as friends in here.
Clark grabs the kryptonite and uses it on Eric. He quickly takes his powers back and demands where Lex is. However, by the time he got to Lex, it was too late. Lana goes to visit Adam. He tells her that he likes her, but for now, he just wants to be her friend. Clark went to go visit Lex once he got out, but Lex doesn't remember a thing about what happened. Clark is broken up about the events took place. Jonathan doesn't want him or Chloe to get involved, meaning that there are people who are more powerful than Clark. And by powerful, I assume he means either money or influence. Martha convinced Clark to go to Lana's welcome home party. He goes, but he just stands there like this is a teen drama. Oh, wait a minute. In the next episode, Whisper, Clark is in the city getting his mother a birthday gift. A robbery ensues and one of the robbers has the power to use sound to distract everyone briefly. Clark uses his heat vision to disarm the gunman, but the blast reflects off the piece of kryptonite jewelry, causing him to be blind. His parents argue over what to do. However, Clark, being optimistic, feels that he may need to learn to live with this blindness before he gets better. Clark goes to school and Lana tries to help him out. However, Clark states that the issues between them shouldn't change due to his blindness. but Lana says that she won't make that mistake of helping him again. As the awkward conversation ends, Clark's hearing starts to go into overdrive and he accidentally overhears a conversation between Chloe and Lionel.
Calling me, especially after everything that's happened. Look, I told you before, my researching Clark days are over.
Really? I have such a vivid memory of that young reporter.
I gave you all the information I had, Mr. Luther.
Well, you have to look at Clark Kent as a work in progress.
Tell me it didn't arouse your instincts as a journalist
When you learned about Clark's blindness.
especially when the other people at the scene were treated with hearing-related traumas.
Look, you're gonna have to find someone else to connect the dots, Mr. Luther, because I'm done with this.
Clark gets home and tells his parents about what happened. Lex comes and visits and offers to help, but Clark declines. Clark also warns Lex to be careful about Lionel. Chloe visits Clark as he confronts her about her deal with Lionel. Chloe tried to plead with Clark, but he didn't want to hear it. Apparently, this was all due to Chloe finding out Clark and Lana were together last season. Also, Chloe tried to gaslight Clark, but he stood firm despite being blind. Later, as Pete finds Clark, Pete is then kidnapped by one of the bank robbers. Clark needs to focus on his hearing to find Pete, and he's getting better. In town, Clark opens up to Lana, and he says he doesn't want to be alone anymore, and he reaches out for Lana's hand, but she pulls away. Clark hears the truck that pulled up on him and Pete and follows it. Clark finds Pete, but is then caught. The robber used a torch to activate Clark's eyes, but it must have burned the effects of kryptonite, giving Clark his sight back. Pete's mom is the judge overseeing the case of the robbery and is told that if the case isn't a drop, Pete will die. Clark had gotten glasses due to his vision still being fuzzy. Clark traces Pete to a junkyard, and Pete was almost crushed until Clark saved him. Later, Chloe loses her job at the Daily Planet, and her father is laid off from Luther Court due to Clark throwing Lana's words back at Lex. Clark goes to visit Lex and figures out that Lex was the one that fired Chloe's dad, but he was a casualty in the renewed war between him and Lionel. This time, Lex was able to keep Clark out of it. Lana and Clark talk about their relationship. Again. As Lionel drives away, Clark uses his super hearing and hears Lana crying. Damn. No matter how he feels about Lana, he still has no problem invading her privacy. Delete is a filler episode. However, we do get an interesting revelation.
Actually, it's just a few stories I've been working on. I would love for you to take a look at them.
Chloe, I couldn't print your name in the classifieds right now without catching hell.
What about a pseudonym? She's my cousin. She won't mind at all. She's not interested in journalism.
Lois Lane.
Yes! Yes!
Chloe's cousin is Lois Lane. Damn. But we probably won't see Lois Lane at all. So it's just wishful thinking. Anyway, Delete is about when Chloe is repeatedly attacked by her friends via mind control from emails. I know this plotline sounds familiar and it was recycled years later in Incredibles 2, but it still worked for a filler episode on Smallville either way. Hereafter follows Jordan, a kid who gets premonitions of the future demises. For a long time, Jordan was able to stop them, but when Clark intervened, it was stopped. However, it changed the fate of Lana, who had before died peacefully. But when the vision changed, this time she had died in a violent fire. Chloe discovers that Adam may be using drugs, feeling the suspicion of Lana and Lex. Oh yeah, in case you didn't realize, Adam decided to stick around. Chloe also finds a vial of a drug that looks unfamiliar in Adam's apartment. Oh yeah, also Adam moved into the apartment above the Talon, creating a new set for future seasons. We also have a future plotline that opens up at the end of the episode where Jonathan has a heart attack. The next filler episode, Velocity, finds Pete street racing with kryptonite fueled cars. This episode also brings up the frustration that Pete has with being under Clark's shadow, but more on that later. Lana, Chloe, and Lex find out more information about Adam. Lana manages to dig up news article of a guy who looks just like Adam who died 5 months ago of a rare liver disease and wants an explanation. However, Adam asks Lana not to tell anyone, but then he later threatens her. Chloe does some digging and figured out that a woman by the name of Dr. Tang has been visiting Adam frequently, but she isn't your traditional kind of doctor. She is a molecular biologist. Chloe also tested the vial that she found previously, and it turns out that it is derived from blood platelets of unknown origin. Hint, hint. Lex enlisted Dr. Tane to continue her research, completely funded by him. Jason Dante, the guy who's running the illegal races, wanted Pete to throw a race due to Pete winning all the time. Pete, of course, had too much pride and didn't throw it, and now owes $20,000. Clark managed to get what's needed to get Pete out of the situation, but Clark had to lie, cheat, and steal to do so, which put a strain on Clark and Pete's friendship.